Many employees buy clothes specifically for work: black trousers for an office, a suit for client meetings, jeans and boots for a work site, or shoes required under a workplace dress code. But clothing does not automatically become tax-deductible just because it is bought for work or worn only while working. So, what generally belongs at D3? And why can one work shirt qualify while another one does not? Let us break it down. This video is general education only. It does not consider any viewer's personal circumstances. It is not tax advice. It is not financial advice. It is not legal advice. And it is not personal advice. D3 generally covers eligible work-related clothing, laundry expenses, and dry cleaning expenses. At a broad level, eligible clothing generally falls into 4 categories: protective clothing, a compulsory and distinctive work uniform, an approved non-compulsory uniform, or occupation-specific clothing. The cost of washing, drying, ironing, dry cleaning, and repairing eligible clothing may also be relevant. But ordinary clothing is usually private. This remains true even when the clothing is required by an employer, purchased only for work, or never worn outside work. For example, an office employee may be required to wear a suit. A waiter may be required to wear black trousers and a white shirt. A retail employee may be required to wear clothing sold by the store. These items are still conventional clothing. They are ordinary clothes that people can wear outside a particular occupation. The workplace requirement by itself does not change their private character. Now compare ordinary clothing with protective clothing. Protective clothing has particular features that protect an employee from a real risk of injury or illness at work. It may also protect ordinary clothing from damage caused by the work environment. Examples may include steel-capped boots, fire-resistant clothing, high-visibility safety clothing, heavy-duty wet weather gear, protective gloves, overalls, and non-slip nursing shoes. The important point is the connection between the workplace risk and the protective function of the clothing. Ordinary jeans, basic shirts, or standard closed shoes do not become protective clothing merely because they are durable or suitable for work. The next category is a compulsory work uniform. A compulsory uniform generally needs to be distinctive. It should clearly identify the employee with a particular organization. A permanently attached employer logo can help make an item distinctive. The employer must also have a policy requiring the uniform to be worn, and that policy must be consistently enforced. Consider an employee who must wear a polo shirt displaying the employer's permanent logo. The employee also wears ordinary black trousers. The logo shirt may qualify as a compulsory and distinctive uniform item. The ordinary black trousers generally remain conventional clothing. The same issue often applies to ordinary shoes, socks, and stockings. A non-compulsory uniform is different, where wearing the uniform is optional. It generally needs to be an approved design entered on the register of approved occupational clothing. Merely choosing matching corporate clothing does not automatically make it deductible. The 4th category is occupation-specific clothing. This is clothing that distinctly identifies a particular occupation and is not ordinary everyday clothing. Traditional examples include a judge's robes, a religious cleric's ceremonial clothing, or a chef's traditional checked pants and chef's jacket. Clothing used across many different occupations is generally not occupation-specific, merely because it is commonly worn at work. Eligible clothing can also create laundry, dry cleaning, and repair expenses for washing, drying, and ironing done at home. The ATO accepts a reasonable calculation of $1 per load where the load contains only eligible work-related clothing, where eligible work clothing is washed together with private clothing. The accepted calculation is 50 cents per load. These rates apply to eligible clothing. They do not turn the washing of ordinary office clothing or other conventional clothes into a deduction. There is also a common misunderstanding about the $150 laundry threshold. It is not an automatic deduction. Laundry expenses of $150 or less may be claimed without written evidence. But the expense must still have been incurred, and the calculation must still be supportable. Dry cleaning and clothing repair expenses are based on the actual amount paid. Records such as receipts are generally relevant for clothing purchases, dry cleaning, and repairs. An expense is also not claimed where the employer supplied the clothing without charge, or reimbursed the employee for the cost. Now, let us bring the rules together with a fictional case study. Asha works at a food distribution warehouse. Her employer has a strictly enforced uniform policy. The policy requires employees to wear a navy polo shirt with the company's permanent embroidered logo. For safety reasons, Asha must also wear steel-capped boots while working in the warehouse. The policy requires plain black trousers, but it does not specify any distinctive design or special protective characteristics for those trousers. During the year, Asha buys 2 logo polo shirts for $100. She buys steel-capped safety boots for $180. And she buys ordinary black trousers for $90. The logo shirts are part of a compulsory and distinctive uniform. The steel-capped boots protect Asha from specific workplace risks. The ordinary black trousers remain conventional clothing. So, in this simplified example, the $100 for the logo shirts is included. The $180 for the safety boots is included. And the $90 for the black trousers is excluded. Asha also washes her eligible work clothing in a separate load once each week. She does this for 48 working weeks, using $1 per work-only load. The laundry calculation is 48 loads multiplied by $1. That equals $48. Asha's simplified D3 calculation is therefore $100 for the compulsory logo shirts, plus $180 for the protective boots, plus $48 for laundry. That produces a total deduction of $328. But $328 is not a $328 refund. At a simplified marginal income tax rate of 30%, the approximate income tax effect is $328 multiplied by 30%. That equals $98.40. The final tax outcome depends on the person's complete tax calculation. The case study shows the central D3 distinction. The logo shirts qualify because they are compulsory and distinctive. The boots qualify because they provide protection against a workplace risk. The ordinary black trousers do not qualify merely because the employer requires them. And laundry is only calculated for the eligible clothing. Let us finish with the core ideas. Most ordinary clothing remains private. Buying clothing only for work does not automatically make it deductible. DIF-eligible categories generally include protective clothing, compulsory and distinctive uniforms, approved non-compulsory uniforms, and occupation-specific clothing gold text. Cleaning and repair costs relate only to eligible clothing. The $150 laundry threshold is not an automatic claim. Employer-provided or reimbursed costs are not claimed again. Records and a reasonable calculation support the amount claimed. And as with other deductions, a D3 deduction reduces taxable income. It is not a dollar-for-dollar refund. This video is general education only. It does not consider individual circumstances. It is not tax advice. It is not financial advice. It is not legal advice. And it is not personal advice. Click subscribe to Finance Systems Explained to Australia for clear explanations of Australian finance systems.